Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome in to First Pitch for Tuesday, July 27th. I am Drew Martin, joined by Dave Cokin and Steve Merril of WagerTalk.com. $2 Tuesday, WagerTalk at SportsMemo.com. We got Brian Leonard, 5% play up, and Mid-Major Matt over at Sports Memo. Great day to check out both of those plays at both websites. But first up, we got two great handicappers breaking it down. Today's card, 4 games, best bets at the end, starting here with WagerTalk's #1 overall profit leader for 2021, this full year here, Dave Cokin. Dave, happy Tuesday morning to you. Welcome into the show.
Thank you, Drew. Hoping to have a good night. I've got 2 underdog selections. That's my card for today. Both first fives, both dogs. One of them is a best bet. And no free play today, but both plays are up at a discount, just $19 to get both selections. You can get them now at my homepage, wt.buzz/DC. And congratulations to you, Drew. New addition to the Martin family with 4 legs. Great job bringing a dog, a new member of the United States contingent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Her third day in the United States. Brought her over from Veracruz, Mexico. She made it through customs, and she's a happy dog here stateside, Dave. So thanks, and shout out to you with your new cat as well, saving some animals here on the show. Dave Cokin and Drew Martin here. 1 cat in Las Vegas and 1 dog from Mexico. So good stuff. Hopefully it repays us here with some winners tonight, Dave.
I hope so too. And it's a great thing for anybody who can, if you can house a pet, particularly a rescue, now's the time to do it. All the shelters are really packed because a lot of people who brought dogs or cats home during the pandemic when they were locked down discovered they don't have time for them now. They're going back to work, and a lot of these animals have been returned to shelters, so they're kind of stuck right now. So if you've got room in your house, you'll be rewarded, believe me, with the love of the pet, and maybe it's good karma that'll help you with other stuff as well.
Yeah, hopefully a couple winners. And speaking of dogs, I like a lot of the dogs on the card, and a great handicapper as well. So without further ado, Steve Merril, one of the best in the business and breaking these games down. Steve, welcome into the show, buddy.
Yeah, I'm actually going to keep with the theme. I'm going to use a dog for my free play at the end of this show today. So, of course, we'll have some free best bets at the end of the show. I'm going to use a free underdog in Major League Baseball. And been watching a lot of the Olympics. I'm not really betting them or handicapping them. I might, though, if I keep watching as much more than I was planning. And we did Wager Talk today earlier. You can check it out. In fact, we had the internet crash in the middle of the show, so we did a second part due. So we got 2 Wager Talk todays posted up there for a bonus episode in which we talk a lot of Olympics and a lot of baseball. And, of course, get my baseball best bets tonight at WagerTalk.com.
I just wanted to mention,
Steve Merril. Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm trying to get into the Olympics, and I'm having a tough time doing it. And part of the reason is there's no fans. I mean, the events are great, but I watched the Astros-Mariners game last night. I wasn't involved in it, but Mariners with an amazing comeback in that game, topped off by a grand slam in the 8th inning, and the crowd went nuts. I mean, it was just, the atmosphere was fantastic watching it on TV. And then trying to watch the Olympics, it's really difficult. We found out over this past year how important fans are for the overall viewing experience and just the atmosphere. And it's sad. Sad for the athletes involved over Japan that there are no fans there to appreciate what they're doing. It does make it tougher to get into it, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, me too, Dave. I saw your tweet, and for sure, I agree with you. Fans make for the atmosphere, and atmosphere in sports is a lot better with fans in the stadium. So breaking down 4 games on today's card, guys, with fans in likely all of these stadiums. Starting off here in an interleague matchup on the East Coast, Dave, we get the Miami Marlins and the Baltimore Orioles. Watkins going for the Orioles, the former 30th rounder. Actually, his numbers are pretty good in the MLB, Dave, albeit a short sample size here. And on the other side, a really interesting part of this handicap, and I say interesting, it's a sad situation, Sandy Alcantara, he had a family member die. He flew down to the Dominican Republic off of the bereavement list here. I believe 10 days, maybe 11 days since his last start. Almost a tricky handicap, Dave, how to go after one of the best pitchers in the National League, in my opinion. But in this situation, interested in your opinion here. We get a total of 9.5, and the Marlins behind Alcantara about minus 130, minus 135 favorites here, Dave. How do you look at this one, Fish and O's tonight?
Well, I don't know if it's possible to to form an opinion on the mental status of Alcantara right now, because, obviously it's a difficult situation. Physically, I think this actually might be good for him. His innings were piling up. He's thrown a lot of pitches this year, and getting 10 days off physically, probably not the worst thing in the world for him. As for Watkins, I've watched him, and his stuff's really ordinary. He has to locate to have any chance of success. His stuff just isn't that good. So I think this is kind of one of those mirages with his numbers so far. I don't think they're going to hold up. I think he's a fringe guy off what I've seen. So I'd give the edge on the mound to Alcantara by a pretty good margin. Unfortunately, laying a price with the Marlins, considering their offensive output lately, is really difficult. So I can't get involved on that. But just in terms of the pitching, I would have to side with Alcantara. Nevertheless, if I had to play the game, and I'm definitely not playing this game, but if I had to play it, I'd probably say, well, as long as Watkins is on this little roll, probably look at that side, particularly with the Orioles having an offensive edge at home. So I guess from a price perspective, the value to me would be on the Baltimore side, but not a game I can really consider.
Okay, good stuff, Dave. And yeah, Steve, I agree with Dave. I took a piece here of the dog, the Orioles at home. Also keep in mind that, guys out there, the Orioles offense, their home road splits are pretty drastic. They hit a lot better at home. They are at home, won 3 straight games, 7 of the last 9. I think there's some value here, Steve, on the dog, but the Alcantara situation, a little bit of a tricky handicap. What are your thoughts tonight in Baltimore?
Yeah, I like the current momentum with Baltimore. As you said, 3 straight wins, but we have to put a little bit of an asterisk next to those last 2 wins, because keep in mind, the Nationals scratched Max Scherzer as their starter Saturday afternoon for the night game, and that was the final indicator that they were a definite seller heading into this week's trade deadline. And as somewhat expected, the Nationals came out extremely flat in those 2 games. Baltimore won them both as small dogs, but they still put up some offense, 10 runs combined, 17 hits. They had 6 runs the night before on that Friday game before they scratched Scherzer. So I do think they're in decent form. And speaking of sellers, I mean, the Marlins are a team we have to be careful with. I know they've won back-to-back games against San Diego, which is pretty crazy after losing the first 2. But this is a team that just a few weeks ago, at one point, had the best run differential in the NL East despite being in last place. So they are a little bit of an underrated team, but I just worry about the mindset now. And it does look like Baltimore's still playing hard, as we just saw with that weekend sweep at Washington. So I would side towards the home dog here. I definitely don't want to lay juice with the Marlins on the road right now.
And Steve, any opinion here on the Alcantara situation? I mean, Dave brought up a good point in terms of it's just a difficult handicap. Do you look into that and maybe fading or betting on this type of situation?
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm keeping this game off my card tonight. I've always said the one edge we have as bettors is that, the odds makers have to put numbers up on every game, every situation, like the Aaron Rodgers situation. A lot of them had to adjust their lines on the fly. We don't have to play those only when we find an edge. And I just think there's too much uncertainty. And when I have uncertainty, I do lean towards a dog. That's another reason I would lean towards Baltimore if I was playing this one.
Okay. Also 91 degrees in Baltimore. That is a hitter's park, so it might be some runs as well, guys. We got second game up here into the AL East. We get the Toronto Blue Jays and the Boston Red Sox. Next game up here. Robbie Ray and Garrett Richards on the hill for the Sox here. Steve, we're seeing minus $1.25 here. The Blue Jays on the road. You interested in getting involved here in the AL East, Steve?
Like the NL East, the AL East is wide open. You've got 4 teams in contention right now, and one of them is the Yankees, who's the 3rd or 4th overall favorite to win the division, and they're only sitting 4th in their own division right now. I mean, win the World Series, and they're only 4th in their own division now. Toronto was a lot of people's dark horse coming out of the break. They do have a good offense. They're going to return to Toronto here in August, and of course their minor league ballparks have inflated their overall stats. But even if you look at road numbers, after the All-Star break, both Toronto and Boston two top 5 teams in most offensive metrics that I look at in road games only. So these are two very good offensive teams. Toronto has put up 4 runs each of the last 2 nights, 9 hits exactly each of the 2 nights, 5-4 losses exactly. I actually had the over last night. Over 11 is my top play for my clients. It did not work out. They only got to 9. Both teams didn't hit the ball quite as well as expected. But it's still over a pass for me with these two offenses. I do think the total's a little inflated here at 10.5. I made it 10, but I'll give up a little bit of value and play the over still between two really good offensive teams.
And Dave, what do you think of tonight in Fenway? Kind of a little bit interesting to me to see the Red Sox this big of a dog at home.
Yeah, I mean, the pitching edge does go to Robbie Ray. I don't think there's any question about that. He's got a big numbers edge over Garrett Richards. But I've got a couple of problems with backing Ray in this spot. One is the Red Sox can hit lefties. 2, Ray he better get strikeouts and ground balls because he is very vulnerable to the home run. I think he's got the 3rd most homers allowed in the American League this year, behind a couple of the Texas Rangers, Fultonevich and Lyles, I believe. And that's a big problem because in this ballpark, lefties who give up home runs, they can get in a lot of trouble here if they've got men on base that can turn into big innings. So I don't like this ballpark for Robbie Ray. If it was someplace else, I might be looking to back the Blue Jays here because I think Ray is. I mean, I think he is better than Garrett Richards by a pretty good margin, but I don't like the fit in the ballpark. I also don't like the bullpen scenario. The Red Sox are doing damage to opposing bullpens right now, to put it mildly, and Toronto's bullpen isn't very good, and the Red Sox got him in the late innings last night. I guess you can make a case for the Blue Jays' first 5 based on the pitching and hope that Ray, if he gives up a homer or 2, there with nobody on base. But I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm not big on even if I think a team's going to win or I think I have an edge. The odds makers have already priced that in here. This to me is a big number for the Blue Jays to be laying. So I think Toronto wins the first 5 innings. I don't know that they win the game, but I'm not willing to bet on it at this price. To me, it's that becomes a pass for me.
Yeah, taking the bullpens out of it. The chat box chiming in here. Abby, Jessica as well, Buck in the house, Nathan, all you guys, welcome on in. Steve, talking about Garrett Richards here, kind of, the sticky stuff since June 3rd. He was one of these guys. It looks like his spin rate has dropped off a little bit. I think that might have something to do with tonight's line. Any opinion on this? Because I know you've kind of followed the crackdown on the substances here in MLB pretty tightly with the starting pitchers. Anything out there in terms of names since we last talked about it? We only get you on once a week, so like to ask your opinion on that and with Garrett Richards tonight, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys, if you look at their numbers, they've dropped off. We don't always know exactly why, but I don't want to try to guess. I mean, it concerns me when a guy drops off. And the magic date for me, I believe, was June 21st. And let's look at, Richards had a bad outing, the start before that on the 16th. But then on June 23rd, he gave up 4 earned runs, 5 runs in less than 2 innings. So it's like he was a mess. And then he gave up 11 hits and 5 runs in 5 innings right after that. So, I mean, the numbers definitely line up where he really struggled mightily the next 2 starts after they started inspecting. So it's something I'd be careful with. He really has not had a good start the last 5 since Major League Baseball started inspecting. So that's another reason I would lean towards the over 10.5 tonight. That's obviously a bonus if something is going on there.
Yeah, sure. And I almost think that.
Go ahead. The guy who to me has seen the most dramatic drop-off is Tyler Mahle of the Reds, who is a big spin rate guy. He's had a lot of control problems since the mandate came down. He is not pitching good ball, and that's a potential moneymaker going against Mahle or playing over in his starts. Something to keep an eye on.
And Drew, to piggyback on Dave's thought there, keep in mind that Trevor Bauer, the poster child of all this, was on the Reds last year, and the Reds had the highest spin rate basically overall in baseball last year. He goes to the Dodgers this year. All of the Dodgers go up. We've seen some of them struggle now. So what Dave said makes a lot of sense because I think these Reds players got it from Bauer. They're still doing it, and some of them are having to stop doing it very fast. So Mahle makes a ton of sense for that reason.
Yeah, we've seen them fall off. That's some great nuggets here, guys, in terms of betting in the future when some of these pitchers are starting, from Dave Cokin, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And Steve, to your point, with Garrett Richards, and like we talked about going into this game, it being surprising that the Red Sox getting this type of price at home, given their record on top of the AL East and everything like that. And it kind of points towards Garrett Richards in the market coming onto this. And to your point, maybe look at the over here in Fenway tonight. It's a hot night. Most of the East Coast guys, that might be a good look. Good stuff here on the show so far. We got a third game up. St. Louis versus Cleveland. Interleague matchup here. We get Wainwright, Dave, versus Quantrill going for the Indians. I believe we're still calling them the Indians. If not, I apologize. And the Guardians here. Near a pick 'em price, Cardinals and Cleveland. Dave, I'll let you take it away, buddy.
And they're the Indians for the rest of this year and then become the Guardians next season. Look, Wainwright's been surprising to me. He was pitching pretty well at home and was a nightmare on the road, but he's pretty much straightened everything out. And he's 39 years old. Wouldn't think there's a lot of life left out there. He's actually pitching pretty good ball for the Cardinals. So, I mean, his numbers are certainly, they're not phenomenal, but they're certainly respectable. Over the last month, his opposing OPS is 609. That's good. It's well above average, and it's certainly better than. Oh no, excuse me, I was looking at the wrong guy. It's 707 over the past month. That's a little better than Quantrill, who's right around 800. So there's a current form edge on the Wainwright side. Season numbers on the road: Wainwright 718 OPS. Quantrill at home 706, so about even there. The offenses, to me, are pretty even as well. The Cardinals' offense spotty. The Indians' offense too reliant on a couple of players. Basically, there's not a lot of balance in that lineup. I think I'd lean Cardinals here. It's not a game that's going to make my card, but I'll give a slight lean to them. But Wainwright is pitching a little better ball than Quantrill, and it's just based on that. Certainly not a very strong opinion.
And Steve, I agree with Dave here. I mean, the only thing kept me off of betting it personally was Wainwright and his home road splits. He's a lot better at home over the course of his career here, Steve. So no action for me either. Are you interested in getting involved here with the Cardinals and Indians tonight?
Yeah, I actually did a video last week about the Wainwright split, so I think it's a legitimate factor. He's spent over 15 years now in one ballpark, and I think it's not a coincidence he's wanted to stay with the Cardinals because he knows how to pitch. And by the way, in 2006 is when the new Busch Stadium opened, and that's exactly when his career began. He's been there for this current stadium from the start, and his numbers through his career are pretty substantial. An ERA of over 4 on the road, 2.8, I believe, at home. I'm talking about 100 starts home and away. Very good sample size. And this year it's been even more extreme. His road starts, ERA of 5.4, 3.6 at home. So, yeah, I think there's something there, and that's what kept me off this game. I would have liked the Cardinals in the matchup as a small favorite, but I'm not going to back Wainwright on the road. So it gets me towards the over. I think that's the best way to play. One of the reasons I was looking at the Cardinals is they're hitting the ball pretty good. They've had 30 hits in their last 3 games. They've put up 18 runs in those. They've only won one of them, though. So there again, that's a reason to maybe stay off the Cardinals and look at the over. And quickly, they are the Cleveland Indians now. Next year, they're the Guardians. But when we talk about past games, they will always be the Indians. I've run into a lot of confusion on this with my Washington Redskins. And I'll tell people I was a Redskins season ticket holder for 30 years, and they tell me I'm politically incorrect. I'm like, no, they were the Redskins in the 80s and the 90s. I don't know how else to say it. But at least Cleveland has a name, whereas my team will be the football team for at least one more year. And I'll go on record right now. I don't think you two have heard me say this. Red Hogs. Washington Red Hogs is the ideal name. It's got red in it still. It's got the Hogs from the 1980s. Red Hogs. Book it.
I like it.
Good. I've given a lot of thought to it.
Could do some really cool things with the logo, too.
Yeah, Red Hogs is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Steve, do you know if there's a market out there to bet on that?
No, but they've already said Warriors has been one of the front runners. They will not have Warriors because that's too close to Native Americans, apparently. So I guess Golden State, you're on the clock. You're now evil as well.
Besides which, it's already taken.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a good name. I didn't like it. It sounded cliche-ish, Washington Warrior. Red Tails was my choice, guys, for the last couple of years because it had red in it and it had the historical reference, some cool logos. But then I started thinking Pigskins. Pigskins was kind of interesting. with the Hogs reference from the offensive line days, but then Red Hogs hit me. Red Hogs is a no-brainer, which means they definitely won't do it.
Listen, the bottom line is nobody uses an already taken nickname anymore.
I agree.
So they're not. The Warriors was never going to happen. There's already the Warriors are the team in San Francisco, the Golden State Warriors, and that's it. You got all kinds of names you can come up with, and they'll come up with something new and unique. But I like yours. I think
Red Hogs. I do too.
That to me, I'm
mentioned too much. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's into the running or not, but I hope it is. We got to make it happen. That's why I wanted to bring it up here for our couple thousand viewers. Right, Daniel Snyder.
I like the Red Hogs. Yeah,
I do too.
The pigskins would be good too.
Pigskins, I like. Yeah, pigskins. Someone said sounds like pigtails. I was like, yeah, but then it started growing on me again. But then the Hogs, Red Hog. I like keeping red in it. Of course, real quickly before we get sidetracked too much, if I was a team owner, I would have kept Redskins. I'd put an Idaho potato on the helmet, and I'd say deal with it just to stick it to everybody. But that's how I roll.
All right, guys, we'll roll along here to the nightcap for the show and on the card here before best bets. We're heading out west for the LA Dodgers, San Francisco Giants. A good one here to end it, Steve. We get Urias on the hill, the 24-year-old Mexican. He's been good coming from the left side. Minus 140, the Dodgers and Urias. Going up against Logan Webb, and talk about being a good pitcher, at least of late here. Logan Webb has been hot, Steve, catching a plus price here with the San Francisco Giants, number 1 and number 2 in the NL West. What do you like in late night, Steve?
Well, I mentioned how Dave was onto something with the Reds as a team in general to be careful with the spin rate stuff because Bauer was there last year. And, of course, the Dodgers I mentioned are the team this year. And Reyes is a guy I've been watching very closely. I was watching that Padre game live back on June 21st, right after they started inspecting, and he gave up 4 runs in the top of that first inning. They ended up losing 6-2. And he's been choppy. He's had a couple decent one-run starts. He's had actually 2 starts. One just came against the Giants, the other against the Marlins. He went 7 innings, gave up 1 run, but then he's been below average like in the other 4 starts. So you don't always know what you're getting with them. Big picture takeaway, once again, I've been saying it for 2 years now in all these shows. You play the Dodgers minus 1.5 run line, or you play the other team outright as an underdog. And it continues to work. Even with the Dodgers being kind of a choppy team this year, they still have the best run differential in baseball. Of course, it did work until it didn't work Sunday. They won exactly 3-2. And they win 1-0 on Saturday. But for the most part, it's worked really well. Didn't work in those 2 games against the Rockies. But I'm with you, Drew. I'd probably lean towards the outright dog here with the Giants. They have beaten the Dodgers. That series last week, basically 3 of the 4 winners came from behind to win those games. They really went back and forth. Probably get some good in-game betting opportunities if you like either one of these teams. Just play them when they're trailing at some point in the game tonight.
Yeah, and Dave, that's the way I was looking at this. I just bet it personally. The Giants plus price, we get the better bullpen. I believe you were on last time. We were talking about the Dodgers, Dave, and you called out the fact that their bullpen has kind of been up and down recently. This will be the 4th time the Giants see Urias this year at home plus price here with the Giants. I look that way, Dave. But what are you thinking late night?
I'm leaning Giants as well. Maybe for a little different reason. I think the Giants at this point they're just getting undervalued by the market. Why is this team a home dog at this point? Nothing against the Dodgers, but right. I mean, the Giants are basically the better team right now. They're in first place. Their run differential indicates that there's no flukiness about this. I mean, they've outscored. You can see it right on the screen there, I think. No, I guess they don't have, the runs aren't on there, but the Dodgers are the Giants plus 90 runs or something like that. This isn't a fluke. It's not like Seattle, where the Mariners are minus 49 runs in the season or 9 games over 500. The Mariners defying all the metrics. The Giants aren't. They've legitimately been this good a baseball team, and the Dodgers now have another injury issue. Mookie Betts goes on the IL now. I mean, they can't get healthy. And I think it's starting to have a bit of an impact on this team. The fact that they've been able to grind it out all season, and they're probably still going to be a playoff team, but they just can't get their whole team on the field. And at some point, it's going to, you would think, start having an impact on them. Pitching here, I give a slight edge to Urias over Webb, but it's not anything substantial. The Giants' bullpen is performing better right now. There is a revenge angle for the Dodgers. Certainly, I'm sure the 2 losses they gave away late last week are in their minds. They want to make amends for that in this fantastic rivalry that goes all the way back to their days in New York. But to me, the value here is clear. It's on the Giants. If I had gone 3 deep on the card tonight, this would have been my third game.
Nice. I like hearing that, Dave. And yeah, another couple tidbits here, guys. Logan Webb, just a 1.08 whip his last 3 starts. He's hot right now. His last time and the time before that against the Dodgers, the 2 times he faced them this season, he's only given up 4 hits in 10 innings, guys. So he's pitched well against this Dodgers lineup. And like Steve and Dave just talked about, the banged up Dodgers lineup as well. So the plus price on the home teams, what I bet as well late night. Guys, reminder, $2 Tuesday, WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Brian Leonard, 5% play up, discounted to just $2. And Mid-Major Matt at SportsMemo.com. We got Dave Cokin, 2 plays up, discounted at his page at WagerTalk. And Steve Merril coming in just shortly with his plays as well. It is time for Best Bets. If you're liking the content, please smash the like button, guys. And like always, huge shout out to the chat box for chiming in here. But Dave, I'll throw it over to you. I know you got your 2-pack up, but you want to throw out a best bet for the show, buddy?
Yeah, it's an opinion. This one is not on my card because I only played the 2 underdogs tonight. But we got a pitching edge here, and I think that maybe it's worth exploiting for the first 5 innings. That's the Taylor Widener Dane Dunning matchup between the Diamondbacks and Rangers. Widener, not real impressive. Okay, Dane Dunning, and there's almost nothing to like on this Texas Rangers team, although I'm very happy with the way things are going for them because I have the first ever 5% over and under wins total play I've ever made was on the Rangers under 67.5 wins. I like my position right now. Let's put it that way. So that's about the only thing there is to like about the Rangers from my perspective, except for Dane Dunning, who's been really good. He had a bit of a melt several weeks ago where he went bad for a few starts, but for the most part, Dunning has done a nice job for this team. And part of the reason for that is the Rangers let him know early on, you're not going deep into games. We're basically going to monitor you all season. We think you've got a bright future. We know we're not very good this year. So you're going to be a 75 pitch guy, and that's about it. And they've maintained that all season long. He's very rarely gone deeper than that. Dunning knows that going into his starts. So he's not pacing himself. He's going out there and letting it all go for his 70, 75, or 80 pitches, and then he's out of the game. And the results for Dunning have been good. If nothing else on this Texas team is good, Dunning has been solid. I give him a substantial edge over Widener as far as the starting pitching goes. So my opinion here is a first 5-inning play, but not on the Rangers as a favorite. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather go Rangers minus a half run for the first 5 innings at basically even money, minus 105. I think that's the way to play this. I think they can win the first 5. What happens after that, who knows, who cares? That's my play. Rangers first 5, minus a half run.
All right, Dave, good stuff. I'll go up next, guys. I'm on the nightcap, the Oakland A's plus 140, risk 100 to win 140 here. They got Cap on the Hill, the former first rounder in 2015 from UCLA. He's been good, 73 strikeouts and 68 innings. And look, guys, they've lost 3 games, all by 1 run. They're not playing terrible baseball here. This is a profitable team, great on the road as well, 26 and 21. Going up against Chris Paddock, the starter for the Padres here, so volatile. Plus the fact schedule-wise for the Padres, yes, they're the home team, but the fact is they're coming off of a 9-game, 3-city road trip here. First game back home, that's a fade spot for me. Add on to the fact they're coming from Miami to San Diego. We get the better bullpen with the A's, my number 2 bullpen right now versus the 20th ranked Padres bullpen. So at plus 140 here on the Athletics against the Padres lineup that's one of the coldest in baseball right now. A's at the big plus price is my best bet for the show. Steve Merril, throw it over to you. Best bet for the show, buddy.
Yeah, I talked earlier about having an underdog here. I would actually lean Diamondbacks full game. I like where Dave's going with the first 5 angle. And one of the concerns I have with the D-backs is they've been really bad against right-handed pitchers. So a game that was just a bit outside for making my card. And by the way, I do have 3 strong best bets tonight at WagerTalk.com, 3 strong baseball best bets at WagerTalk.com. But I'd take a look also at the under 8.5 in the Rangers D-backs game. Rangers have a solid starting pitching edge here early in the game. D-backs have been much weaker this year against right-handed pitchers on the road. And the reason I don't want to touch Texas, though, and I would still lean Arizona as a dog for the game, is because I'm not going to try to catch that falling knife with the Rangers, who have now lost 11 straight. But the reason they've lost 11 straight is because their offense is just terrible right now. They scored one run or less in half of those games. So I think that favors the under 8.5. If Arizona struggles against the righty, if Texas remains ice cold offensively, and keep in mind, yes, they've lost 11 straight and they're favored tonight, but you don't want to try to guess from those streaks in. People said that with the Diamondbacks earlier this year when they lost 24 straight road games. They can't lose 18. They can't lose 19. And they lost 24. What's crazy, though, guys, if you look at the overall one-loss record this year, yes, the D-backs are still the worst team in baseball, but they play in that unbelievably difficult division, the NL West. They're actually 18-21 against losing teams this year. Texas, meanwhile, 9-17 against losing teams. So full game, I'd lean towards the dog, but I think the best way to play it is under 8.5 Rangers, D-backs, low-scoring game tonight in Arlington.
All right, good stuff from Steve Merril. And guys, in recap, 4 best bets. We get the Oakland A's plus 140, Steve Merril Diamondbacks plus 130, Dave Cokin Rangers first 5 minus that half a run minus 105. So a pick'em price there and 2 dogs for you from Steve Merril, Dave Cokin. I am Drew Martin. Guys, like always, thanks for tuning in. $2 Tuesday. Check it out. Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Please smash the like button on your way out. Best of luck until tomorrow. Talk soon.
Matt Joseph easily took the 2020 college football crown at Sports Memo, picking up plus 71% in profit for his clients, winning 62% of his college selections with a final record of 98, 59, and 3. For unlimited time, you can get the first 4 college football weekends starting on Saturday, August 28, 2021, and running through Saturday, September 25, 2021, for only $149 versus a regular price of $330. As an added bonus, we'll include any NFL side, total, or prop plays Matt releases during this time at no additional charge.